European shares jumped on Monday and bonds calmed following last week's spikes. Yields in key debt markets dropped back as both Asian and European.
A very warm welcome to yet another installment of Galaxy Prime right here on Galaxy Universal Network Channel 500 on Starsat. My name is GUGU, THUSI, and thank you so much for joining us to further the conversation across all our social media platforms. We are Galaxy Universal Network on Facebook. We are GAN_TV_ on Instagram and on Twitter. With that being said, later on the show, I'll be joined by the president of the Pan-African Congress, Azania, PAC, to engage more on the Human Rights Day. But for now, let's get to our top stories. The former eThekwini Mayor Zandile Gumede and his co-accused appeared in the Durban Commercial Crimes Court today. They were facing charges relating to the 430 million rand solid waste tender corruption. The tender was issued in 2017 when Gumede was still the mayor. And in December, the state asked for the case to be postponed, but Gumede's lawyers were not pleased. And furthermore, the court granted the postponement, but warned that if the matter could be postponed again, it will be struck off the roll. And furthermore, we've recently learned that the matter has been moved to the High Court for a pre-trial that will start on the 14th of June. The indictment have been served, and the accused are facing 2,786 charges collectively. President Cyril Ramaphosa went to the funeral of the late president of Tanzania, John Magufuli, and the funeral took place in the CBD of Tanzania. Let's have a look at that. Speaking at the funeral, President Cyril Ramaphosa said, "We have lost a Pan-Africanist leader, a president who was unapologetic about being an African."
Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania,
Mama Janet
Magufuli,
Your Excellencies, heads of state and government,
waheshimiwa wakuu wa nchi na serikali,
Your Excellencies, former presidents of Tanzania,
waheshimiwa maraisi wastaafu wa Tanzania,
to the family of our departed brother,
kwa familia iliyoondokewa na kaka yetu,
to the government and the people of Tanzania,
kwa serikali na watu wa Tanzania,
I stand here very briefly to extend the greetings from the people of South Africa to all of you, the people of Tanzania, who have lost a beloved president and a beloved brother.
Nasimama hapa kuleta salamu kutoka kwa watu wa Afrika Kusini kwenu nyinyi wa Tanzania ambao mmeondokewa na aliyekuwa rais wenu mpendwa.
The family of nations of Africa are today mourning the passing of their own, an esteemed leader of his people, and a tireless champion of the cause of African progress.
Umoja wa familia ya Afrika leo unaomboleza kwa kuondokewa na kiongozi mahiri ambaye alikuwa na maono ya kulikomboa bara la Afrika.
In President Magufuli, we have lost a true Pan-Africanist, a president who was unapologetic about being an African.
Tumempoteza shujaa wa Afrika ambaye yeye alikuwa amesimama kidete kulitetea bara la Afrika.
It is a little more than a year and a half since I was last here in Dar es Salaam at the invitation of President.
Still on President Cyril Ramaphosa. President Cyril Ramaphosa promised South Africans on Human Rights Day that he would build a new economy, but the opposition leader used the anniversary of the 1960 Sharpeville shooting to remind the government of its failures. Ramaphosa, in a virtual meeting address on a Sunday in commemoration of the 69 people who were shot dead by the police for protesting peacefully against the apartheid government-passed laws, said that South Africa is currently part of a struggle far greater than ourselves. It is not a fight for our own piece of bread, for our own jobs to be saved, or for our own health and safety. It is a fight in preserving common humanity. That was the sentiments shared by President Cyril Ramaphosa, and he further called on the labor, the business and communities to work together with the government to build the new economy. This year's human rights was rather themed under the year of Charlotte Matlege in promoting human rights in the age of COVID-19. Let's have a look at those remarks.
We, the people of South Africa,
recognize the injustices of our past.
Honor those who struggled for justice and freedom in our land.
Respect those who have worked to build and develop our country.
And believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
Unite in our diversity.
Let's have a look at the market. The rand is trading at 14 rand 78 cent against the dollar, 17 rand 61 cent against the British pound, and 20 rand 44 cent against the British pound. Now let's have a look at some international news. Several feared dead and tens and thousands fled a huge blaze engulfing the Rohingya refugee camp in the southern East Bangladesh.
উপস্থিতে আমরা পানিবাহী গাড়ির সাহায্যে আগুনটাকে ব্লক দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করি, কিন্তু সিলিন্ডারের ব্যাপকতার কারণে আমাদের ব্যাগ পেতে হচ্ছে খুব। আমরা সেটা মোকাবেলা করে আমরা আগুন নিয়ন্ত্রণে আনার জন্য চেষ্টা করছি।
On some positive African stories, Nigeria's Burna Boy, who was awarded a Grammy for Best Global Music Album for Twice as Tall, said that the win marks a big moment for African music.
Very deep right now.
For Burna Boy, his first Grammy win isn't just an award. It's a sign of how modern African music is now attracting respect.
Now it's serious. Now we're on the levels of we're eye to eye with our the people we used to look up to. You understand? So yeah, it's a big moment and a big time for African music and Africans in general.
Burna Boy, real name Damini Agulu, won the Best Global Music Album Grammy last Sunday for Twice as Tall, released last year. He's part of a generation of Nigerians, including Wizkid and Davido, who've enjoyed global success in recent years as contemporary proponents of the Afrobeat sound. The artist grew up in southern Nigeria and moved to London as a child before returning to the West African country.
I didn't even want to be African when I was little. Like when I was, I wanted to be American. I wanted to be anything but who I was because, who we are wasn't really the cool thing to be. You understand? Like it was so bad, like in school in London, like back in the days, like people, like they'll try to bully the Africans and things, like you get me caught. Yeah, but at the end of the day, man, like the truth never needs validation. You understand? The truth is always going to come back and bite you in the ass. You understand? And the truth is that we Africans are the root, the beginning, the seed.
Now, he says technology is giving Africans more control over how they are perceived.
On some more international stories, Israelis begin voting for their fourth election in less than 2 years, with the nation still divided over whether the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu deserves to remain in office. As the whole world continues to battle against COVID-19, Venezuela is suffering a second deadly wave of the coronavirus, and that's according to the head of one medical clinic. And the number of cases in that region continues to increase compared to last year.
Ha aumentado el volumen de los pacientes en esta nueva ola y hay casos más graves que el año pasado.
Para un monitoreo específico. Ahora, cuando el paciente ingresa y nos manipula un elemento, nosotros manejamos un plan quirúrgico controlado.
Tenemos una bombona inmensa allá abajo, donde viene el oxígeno normalmente, donde en el flujo normal de llenado del oxígeno era una vez por mes.
As South Africa continues to celebrate Human Rights Day, let's go down some memory lane. The Sharpeville massacre occurred on the 21st of March in 1960 at the police station in the South African township of Sharpeville, known then as a Transvaal, but it's part of Gauteng today. After a day of demonstration against the pass laws, the crowd of about 7,000 protesters went to the police station, and the South African police opened fire on the crowd, killing about 69 people and injured about 180 others. The source, however, disagrees about the behavior of the crowd. Some state that the crowd was peaceful, while others state that the crowd had been hailing with stones at the police, and that the shooting started when the crowd started to advance towards the fence around the police station. And there were about 249 casualties in total, including 29 children, and many were shot on their backs as they fled. Let's have a look at that. With that being said, do stay tuned. Galaxy Prime will take a short break and we'll be back after this.
Make massive moves.
Oh my God! Oh! Knocked out!
And WBC Continental America's champion.
That was delightful.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
Anger boils over in El Dorado Park.
Make massive moves.
Corruption allegations have hit too close to the office of the president.
America is crying out for leadership.
I'm the president and you're fake news.
Donald Trump has already started his attacks.
It is clear from the development of the disease.
But it's still the biggest annual decline in 100 years.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
Welcome back to Galaxy Prime right here on Galaxy Universal Network Channel 500, and thank you so much for joining us to further the conversation across all our social media platforms. We are Galaxy Universal Network on Facebook. We are Gan_TV_ on Instagram and on Twitter. With that being said, in studio, I am joined by the president of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, PAC, Mr. NAIRUS MOLOTO. Mr. MOLOTO, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. To you and to the viewers of Galaxy TV.
Mr. MOLOTO, let's go down the memory lane as South Africa continues to commemorate the Human Rights Day. As the saying goes, history has no blank pages. What does Human Rights Day mean to us as the 21st century generation?
Look, to the PAC, we disagree that this day should be known as Human Rights Day because it has always been called Sharpeville Massacre, Sharpeville Langa Day, because it is exactly what it is. It is on this day that innocent protesting people of Sharpeville,
yes,
under the leadership of the PAC, protested against the oppressive past laws, were massacred by the apartheid regime police. Now, therefore, we believe that to try to sugarcane it, to rename it, we are downplaying the importance of the day and of the events. We are trying to take our history and play it down to what it is not.
Now, let's go back again, Mr. MOLOTO. Thank you so much. The history behind the Sharpeville protest, the peaceful protest was against the past laws. What was entailed in those laws?
Look, what was entailed, but let me just to put it into proper historical context.
Yes.
As you are aware, the PAC was formed on the 6th of April, 1959.
Yes.
And its first program was Status Campaign. Status Campaign intended to bring the confidence of the African people into themselves. Okay. Because they just lack of confidence. Each time they come across white people, they just run away, they dodge and duck and so on. So the second program of action, which was called a positive campaign, it was anti-past campaign. At that time, during 1960, the people, and this thing came, it must be understood within the context. Yes. What is it that the past laws, the pain that we're inflicting on our people, the African people? First, it was seeking to control them. It's seeking to establish their employability, to find out whether they're supposed to be there, whether they have a permit to be there. This is the type of situation, the type of the pain that our people were suffering at that particular time. Now, the PAC came with a program, which was launched on that day under the leadership of its founding president, Robert Mangaliso, to challenge the past laws. And the intention was that they leave the passes at home, and they go and surrender at the police station, all men. And they demand to be arrested on the basis that they do not have the passes. Now, therefore, they wanted to render the apartheid regime, that particular law, ineffective
Yes.
The nature of the campaign was in such a way that it has frightened the authorities of apartheid at that particular time, and hence they reacted the way they've reacted. There have been many other protests before then, but this was a different protest altogether. But having said that, it was a challenge to the authority of the passes that they cannot really be used effectively to rule the African people. And that was a brave program by the PAC. Now, having said that, the events there are not even disputed. The first that day is not disputed. It was a PAC-led campaign. Secondly, it was massive. It was anti, the pass laws, which were oppressive.
Now, we'll hold that thought, Mr. MOLOTO. Galaxy Prime is going to take a short break. We'll be back after this with more information as Mr. MOLOTO is taking us down the memory lane of what happened in the Sharpeville massacre, known or commemorated today as the Human Rights Day. Do stay tuned. We'll be back after this.
Make massive moves.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter.
Another one.
Jerusalem, ikayalami.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
You're the best fighter in China.
Give me the Emperor's sword, and I'll spare your life.
Shisha sector's gone too far.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Deceiver!
There isn't any time to waste then.
We can't save everyone in this war.
One moment, that's all we got.
You're locked in here with me.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
This is just the beginning.
Make massive moves.
Get out! Get out of this place!
I love you. Do you love me?
Yes.
I like this. Someone stole from me yesterday. It was not my fault now. Eh?
Leave me or I blast your head.
No, don't shoot, sir, please.
Please don't kill us. I'll give you anything you want.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, hey.
God is sealing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says. God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Wow. Let's go. Come on, we can be back by morning.
Who are you?
I'm the boss.
Really?
Really?
Yeah! Awesome! Totally! Yeehaw!
Welcome back to Galaxy Prime right here on Galaxy Universal Network Channel 500 on Starsat. My name is GUGU, and thank you so much for joining us in studio with me. I am joined by the president of the Pan-Africanist Congress, Azania, known as the PAC, Mr. MOLOTO. Mr. MOLOTO, thank you so much for the views you've shared before we went to the ad break. Now, let's zone into your first statement that you said, that this day, it's injustice for this day to be called Human Rights Day because of what transpired. Take us through that.
Yes. Look, in future,
yes,
we live now for the future generations. When we are looking back into this day, they must see exactly what happened. They must see the brutality. It has always been known as Sharpeville Day. Now, it was commemorated long before democracy in 1994. It was known to our people to be the Sharpeville Day. Now, after democracy, we seek to change it, and we took the meaning out of it. But more importantly, the future generation, if they have to know why do we have this day called Human Rights Day, you may find that given that the rulers define and write history, it may just end up becoming a completely different day. And now we are saying it is a significant day in so many ways. One, other than it shook the apartheid regime, it triggered the state of emergency for the first time.
Yes.
It led to the banning of the African organizations.
Yes.
It has actually became the turning point of the struggle for the liberation in this country, because also it led to the formation of the military wings of both the PAC and the ANC. So it is significant in so many ways. Now, therefore, to distort that part of our history and to water it down to a Human Rights Day, and also to give in to something that we don't even know, because it has been known like that since 1960. Why after 1994 we rename it and call it by a different name? What is it for? So as the PAC, we are not happy. We believe it should be known as Sharpeville Massacre, because that's exactly what happened.
Like the saying goes again, that history has no blank pages. Organizations like your PAC were at the forefront, during those times, especially on the black consciousness, in building, like you've just said, confidence on our black community, to say when they face, their counterparts, which is the whites, they should have confidence that they are human and they deserve to be treated as such. But looking at history, it looks as if that page is sort of toning down and it's being shied away from.
Look, attempt has been made to erase the history of the PAC out of the history going to the future. Similarly to the efforts being made to erase the contribution of Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe. You'll know on another day we'll talk about him, that you cannot even hear him on audio. And that is systematic. Now, you are quite correct to say that attempt to try to blacken out the history and the contribution of the PAC are in place, and they've been there for some time. But having said so, PAC is a liberation movement. We fought for what today is called democracy. We lost leaders, we lost cadres and members in the course of the struggle. So the PAC, we are not going to allow a situation where its contribution in history is written out. But having said so, having contributed, having had democracy, having now commemorating this day under democracy, we have to also take stock as to how Sharpeville looks like, how the general African townships looks like, including the villages, inclusive of if these people have to wake up today from the dead and walk around the street, would they notice any difference? Would they see South Africa as a free country? Those who died, can they say we died for a good cause? And the good cause just to go to vote. Now we are saying that in terms of the social and economic conditions and positions of our people, we have regressed, unfortunately. And our people are still suffering the degradation socially, and economically they still have nothing. What they thought freedom will bring, it is not there. And this is what is paining the PAC. Hence we have actually came out with a program to say the question and the issue of land has to be confronted head on by the masses, because the government and the politicians, the parliamentarians are dragging their feet, and they don't seem to be seriously pursuing the issue, the central issue for what we participated in the struggle for.
Now, let's take a look at what happened at the Sharpeville massacre, where about 69 people were killed by the police, apartheid police, and when they were protesting peacefully against the apartheid pass laws. Let's have a look at that.
This type of leadership is made of.
Some memory lane of what really transpired at the Sharpeville massacre, where about 69 people were killed as people were protesting against the apartheid pass laws. And organizations like the PAC, rather, the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, were at the forefront, led by the late Mangaliso Robert Sobukwe. Yes, and so we are engaging with the president of PAC, Mr. MOLOTO. Looking at this day, in this day and age, and looking how history has evolved and some of the elements, the key elements to this were sort of tamed out. And when you look at the history of our counterparts, unfortunately, the whites, it remains as it is. What's your take on that?
Yeah, what we are witnessing as the PAC, and not only as the PAC, but our people, is that although they are voting, the votes are being used and sending people to parliament. Those people are there to maintain the status quo. Particularly if you look into we're fighting social degradation, and we rejected the 4-room towers as matchbox houses. But today, people are funding themselves in the RDP and in the squatter camps. What a vast difference. Now, if you look into that particular situation, it's abhorrent. And majority of the people around, but we have vast tracts of lands. You remember that the real situation, the reality is that the African people being majority remaining the 13% of the land. And they are congested there, they continue to congest. Now the politicians will rally, will talk land question when they want votes. And after they were voted, they go there and get paid and get plots and farms for themselves. The poor people, the African people, remain where they were. Now what we are witnessing today is the continuous expansion of the townships, which were created by the apartheid regime for their own purposes. So we are basically continuing with the status quo then. Now as the PAC, we are very disappointed. Now economically, the PAC believed then and now that land continued to be a central issue to build any economy. Now, and what has been dispossessed from our people was land. And democracy and freedom, political freedom, it was intended to give our people return land so that they can begin to rebuild their lives, have their own economic life, so that they can able to have their livestock there, out of cattle, sheep, and all sorts of other things. So they do not necessarily need to go and work for someone. We cannot drive everybody into the urban areas where there are no jobs. So that is still being denied despite having fought for, despite our people died for that particular cause. Today we have been promised jobs. When you go to the industrial areas, almost in each and every gate you are finding a written note that there are no jobs. So who's fooling who? That, unfortunately, the reality of what we find ourselves here. Now, I saw the president there saying he must be helped to build a new economy. Where's the blueprint of that economy? How can you dream of building a new economy while the dispossessed people are still dispossessed? When the land they're still locked literally in the 13% of that particular land. And for instance, the Bantu Administration Act, which governed the urban areas, townships.
Yes.
What we are witnessing is that they are being expanded. Informal settlement, where people are struggling with toilets. You find one family sharing, 10 families sharing one toilet, and in some cases, no toilets at all. Now, this is what we are struggling with 27 years into democracy. We are reflecting into what these people died for. Not only people in Sharpeville, but starting from there, fighting for the liberation and coming back into the very, very horrible social conditions. Because those are not the conditions within which a democratic government should allow the people to live. Now, that is what we are saying as the PAC. We need to have a proper reflection. And looking into that contribution, people giving their life, being shot that way, and coming back 27 years in our democracy, see where we are. We are very disappointed.
Now, Mr. Moloto, let's come again into one of the cries within our democracy, and that is the issue of corruption. What's the PAC stance with regards to corruption, and how could we best eliminate it in our times?
Well, look, corruption, first and foremost, is an effect of political and ideological bankruptcy. It's an effect of people who are not really connected to the constituency or to the communities or to the people. I mean, having participated, having struggled. Now, here yesterday, on Sunday, we were actually talking to the families of the people that died, those people who died there. If you go through their families, you'll realize these people, it appears they have died in vain because their families continue to suffer. They are being neglected, nobody cares. Either the local government or the national government, they have absolutely nothing. Now, this shows how we don't care about ourselves, our communities, our people, and the democracy has been distorted. Democracy or political power must be used to address the condition of the voters, of the majority, the people that elected that government. Now, corruption, which is eating our country, is destroying our country, is a very, very bad reflection. Basically, that is where the very same people that have been elected, they go and set up vote for a budget in parliament and go and intercept it. When it's supposed to then reach the people in a form of service delivery and in a form of alleviating poverty, building infrastructure. We have not able to build a new township, a model township, which shows that when we said we are free, we should have this what we have seen. We're still building the future based on colonial setup, because the township are a colonial setup. Now, that shows that the ruling party Bay Liberation Movement, PAC Bay Liberation Movement, it began to be critically, and that's why sometimes people lose hope on the liberation movement. But those people who fought liberation genuinely and trying to liberate people from the bad social and economic condition and making sure that they're starting a new life, we have not started. And this is what disappoints us. We will call upon our people And we are convinced as the PAC that once our people begin to realize that it's upon them, it's not upon the few people that they've elected. We have done that for the past 27 years.
And nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. We have actually moved backward. We are being promised things day in, day out. I mean, yesterday, President promised something. People are promising our people everything and deliver absolutely nothing.
As you've mentioned that you visited the families of the people who were, killed at the Sharpeville massacre, and looking at every historical evidence of where South Africa is today, do you think as a black nation we have healed? As you've seen post, in the beginning of democracy, there were initiatives like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to amend and make sure that they bring about healing. But do you honestly think that at this time, at this age, more than 25 years into democracy, do you think we as a black nation have healed?
Healing is something else. Look, I would say that nothing materially changed. Okay. Basically, we've been absorbed into the status quo that was there before. That we are being run by the same system, operating under the same parliamentary system, which means that the people that elect you don't matter. Because if you really look into the conditions, you see, in other democracies, in other countries, where the people elected parliamentarians, they hold them responsible, and those people must show, they must be changed, their programs. Here we are still struggling at the educational level. At the beginning, I was supposed to have expressed our condolences to the Tanzanian president who just passed away, Magufuli, who, within a period of 5 years, he granted the Tanzanian free education. He changed. He built that economy. Within a short period, there was a will there. That man is not under the control of some forces. Here in our country, the people who elect there, they are not serving the African interest. They are not serving the interests of the African communities. Hence the African communities, the level of unemployment, hence the suffering is continuing. Who's benefiting? It's the funders of these people. Our parliament here in South Africa, I can say this boldly, those who are there are serving the interest of those who funds them, mainly the foreign interest. They are not serving our interest. Now, even the little resources that are there, they are using them to loot for themselves and their families, and in some cases their comrades, instead of serving the voters and the people of this country.
Sure. That was the president of the PAC, Mr. MOLOTO. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We truly appreciate the opportunity you afforded, and the views you've shared here are very strong, and we thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate to be here as well.
And we shall continue the conversation. We shall continue the conversation. Unfortunately, with that, this is where our installment for Galaxy Prime will come to an end. Do further conversation across all our social media platforms. We are Galaxy Universal Network on Facebook. We are Kan_TV_ on Instagram and on Twitter. From me and my team, it's a wrap.